All right, Rising, well, welcome to a new week. Hope you guys are having a great week so far as we get ready to dive back into Psalms. Hopefully you've been keeping up with the reading, and each day kind of keep asking yourself these questions, and what is it showing me about myself, what's showing me about God, and what God want for me? And today, in our reading this past week, it kind of reminded me, first off, I'm wearing another National Park shirt because the Utah woman bought this for me, so I wanted to honor them. Thank you very much. But on that trip, one of the things we do is we're constantly kind of watching the sun rise and the sun set, and you start off the day with watching the sunrise somewhere, and then at the end of the day we watch it sunset somewhere. And it reminded me a little bit of what it says in Psalm 113, verse 3. It says, "From the rising of the sun to the place where it sets, the name of the Lord, of Yahweh, is to be praised. The Lord is exalted over all the nations, his glory above the heavens. Who is like the Lord our God? The one who sits enthroned on high, who stoops down to look on the heavens and the earth." And I love this idea because it says he's enthroned in heaven and he stoops down. It's almost this image of God is so massive and so huge. We've talked about this before. And he cares about us. That whole question of who am I that God who is that big would stoop down and pay attention to me and know my name and know my circumstances, know my difficulties, that he would listen to my prayers, that he would come and rescue me on my behalf, and he would intervene. It's like, that's just crazy. That's just a crazy thought. And from the rising of the sun to the place where it sets, it's like we're to glorify God and praise him for who he is and what he has done for us, because he sits enthroned. Our God, Yahweh, the one true God, sits enthroned in heaven, and all is well because he is seated on his throne. It's kind of interesting because sometimes I feel like our reading in Psalms kind of hits our real world. And so this past week I got my newest edition of History, National Geographic. I'm sure all of you have subscriptions to this. But right out of the gates, it says, "Wonder and Thunder, the statue of Zeus at Olympia." And if you're not familiar with this, show and tell, I'm going to show you some pictures. This was considered one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. So you had the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, you had the Pyramids of Giza, you had the Colossus at Rhodes, and one of these was this huge statue of Zeus that they had created in Olympia in his temple. And he sat enthroned on his temple, and they believe this is kind of what it looked like. I don't know if you can see that in focus or not, but he sat enthroned, this huge, huge statue of Zeus and all of his glory and all of his power and all of his might, and he rules over the world, and here's his throne, and here's his temple built to him. And a couple pages later, here's another one, another god. This is Athena, in her temple, in her, standing in her glory and her power. And it's interesting because I was reading this article about the Greek gods and these statues, and then you read Psalm 115, and you read I'll skip the first verse, we'll come back to that, but in verse 2, "Why do the nations say, where is their God?" Talking about Israel, like, where's your God? And it's kind of an interesting idea because we just read that and we kind of skip past this idea, because when people would come to Israel and they would look for these huge statues of their God, of Yahweh, like they would see in Greece, in Olympus, when they see that in all these different places around the ancient world, you would see their gods. People would have these images of their gods. They would have all these little idols of their gods. So here's my little god Poseidon, here's my little god Zeus, here's my little god Moloch, here's my little god, whoever it may be, Baal, all these different gods. And so they'd be like, well, where's their God? Where's the Israelites' God? They don't have a God. They don't have a temple where they go worship. They don't have all these little figurines that they put in their homes to worship their gods. Like, where is their God? Their God doesn't even exist. That's the question that's being asked in verse 2. Why do the nations ask or say, where is their God? Verse 3, our God is in heaven, and he does whatever pleases him. But their idols, their gods, are silver and gold made by human hands. And listen to how he describes them. They have mouths, but they cannot speak. They have eyes like Zeus and Athena, but they cannot see. They have ears, but they can't hear. They have noses, but cannot smell. They have hands, but they cannot feel. They have feet, but they cannot walk, nor can they utter a sound with their throats. And then he says this, those who make them will be like them, and so will all who trust in them. All who put their hope and their faith and their trust in these idols and these false gods and these any other God besides the one true God, Yahweh, the God of Israel, it's like it's in vain. They're going to be just like them in the sense like they're going to have eyes, but they can't see. They have ears, but they can't hear. It's like they're insensitive. They can't understand greater truths. They're blind. They're deaf. They can't feel. And he's saying that's what happens to those kinds of people. Those who make them will be like them. And then he continues in verse 9, he says, all you Israelites, don't trust in these false gods. And today we kind of maybe mock the idea, we kind of like make fun of it, and maybe we see it even like in the movies. You go see the Avengers, and here's Zeus, and he's kind of a laughable character, or here's his son, Hercules, his half son, right? It's like this idea of these gods, and we kind of like, it's funny. But we do the same thing. We may not call them Zeus or Poseidon or Athena or any of these other names, but we have these things that we idolize and these things that we say are gods and the things that we put first and that we put our hope and our faith and our trust in and our security in, whether that's money or fame or pleasure or whatever it may be, even escapism, whatever it may be, these things that we kind of say, this is what it's all about. And he's saying, no, you Israelites, trust in Yahweh, trust in the Lord. He is your help. He is your shield. And I love this, verse 10, this should be my life verse. House of Aaron, trust in Yahweh, in the Lord. He is their help and their shield. You who fear him, trust in the Lord, in Yahweh. He is their help and shield. And I love this, verse 12, the Lord remembers us and will bless us. He will bless the people of Israel. He will bless the house of Aaron. He will bless those who fear the Lord, small and great alike. May the Lord cause you to flourish, both you and your children. May you be blessed by the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth, who stoops down to listen to us and to hear us, because he is enthroned in heaven. He doesn't need a temple here. His temple is in heaven. And he stoops down because he cares about us and listens to us. And therefore, Psalm 115, the very first verse, is one you probably heard in the song. Chris Tomlin did a song, it's a great one. Not to us, Lord, not to us, but to your name be the glory, because of your love and your faithfulness. May you receive the honor and the glory from the rising to the setting of the sun. May you receive the glory because you are God and you are enthroned and you know me and you love me and you stoop down to hear me. And these other false gods, they don't. And so may I never become one of those people who has ears but can't hear. And may I never become somebody who has eyes but can't see, and has hands but can't feel, and has feet but can't walk. May I be flourished because, God, you have blessed me abundantly. You have provided for me. You are good. And may I fear and respect and honor you. And so to me, it's kind of interesting when you kind of see all these different things in life kind of merge together and make sense. That we have a God that is known. It's not one that you can see with your physical eyes or that you can hold in your physical hands, but he is a God who sits enthroned. And so sometimes maybe we just need to remember that. Maybe this week you just need to remember that. In the midst of whatever you're doing, God is seated on his throne, and he will bless those who fear him and honor him and respect him and give him his due and give him the glory. And not to us be the glory, but to you be the glory. So hopefully that will get you guys started this week. Some food for thought. And we only got a couple more weeks left, but we'll check back in with you next week.